Joining us now on the CanesInSight Daily Podcast. I'm really excited about this guest, guys. It's a little outside the box, right? So we usually get, the players, the coaches, stuff like that on here as guests. But this one is very special. We have writer, director, producer Alec Griffin Roth of Firebrand Media joining us today. And Alec is the director of the Zero Star documentary series featuring Cam Ward in this documentary. You guys might remember back in November, story came out by Variety that the Cam Ward documentary was going to be on its way and in production. And here we have the director of it all, Alec Griffin Roth. Alec, man, appreciate you joining me today. How you doing?
I'm good. I've been watching the draft for the last 3 days, and was just happy that Cam was number one, so we didn't have to. We're not in Shador's situation or anything like that. But yeah, no, it's been a fun watch so far.
Yeah, and listen, guys, just complete full disclosure here. Alec, me and him went to school together at Miami back in the day, so he's a Cane. So it's got to be cool for you, Alec, to kind of be close to this story. And this is something that, again, although it was announced in November that it was in production, this has been in the works for a while before Cam even made the decision to come to Miami. So take us all back. We'll get into the project as a whole in a bit, but I want to talk about your initial meetings with Cam and kind of how that relationship came together and how this documentary itself came together.
Yeah, definitely. So, I've been, I grew up out in LA and have been a part of this sort of Hollywood sphere for my whole life. My father's a screenwriter and has made some incredible films. He wrote movies like Benjamin Button and Forrest Gump and The Insider and Star is Born, and I can go on and on and on. And I followed in the same path and ended up writing and directing multiple projects that are coming out. We hope this year and into next year as well. And that my life has been a filmmaker. That's what I do. I make movies, and it's been a dream come true to be able to do that. And one of my best friends, who I've known since I was, maybe 9-10 years old, a guy by the name of Robbie Clifford. He worked at CA Sports for a number of years, and then left. I want to say probably 3 years ago. And he kind of went into his own sort of world and trying to figure out how to work with clients, work with different athletes, on and off the field. And we had gotten a call through a mutual connection. And he was living with me at the time, Robbie, and it said, "Hey, you should go meet this kid, Cam Ward." At the time he's at Washington State. And he was just, at that time, I believe they were around 4-0, 5-0 Washington State. But and I'm a huge college football fan. I love Miami. I died for the Canes. But I also knew of Cam Ward, but there was nothing for, Robbie was sort of like, "Hey, do you want to just come and meet this kid?" And, again, like I said, I'm a movie maker. I don't have anything to do with college football. I love it. I love watching it, but it's not really my world that way. Anyways, we ended up not meeting Cam that day, but we drove out to Pasadena and met the family. And it was one of the more, when you just go into a meeting and you just know there's something there's something special. We met with his sister and his father and mother, and I can't tell you how incredibly special the family is. Something that I think when kids go through this draft process, that they do little things here and there, but he is, that whole family has that zero star mentality. I mean, they are. It's and I remember talking about Kobe Bean, and I'm an LA guy, and I actually kind of liked Kobe as he got later in his career, but they have that mentality. So anyways, we met with them, and it was really a special meeting, and we talked about a possible documentary. It really was a special moment. And I said, look, I'm a filmmaker. If this is something that you guys are interested in, and we were in LA, and I sort of told them my background, and I said, look, his story is incredibly, obviously worthy of one.
But this is cool. This is crazy to me because this is, again, just to remind the people who are listening, this is 5 games into his season at Washington State. So you're saying it's an incredible story, but this is before he makes the decision to go to Miami, and and then of course everything plays out how it is. So
exactly.
I mean, that to me is not to cut you off there, but just to remind people. So at that point, you already knew, like, all right, even his path to this point has been pretty out of the ordinary.
Completely. And I think I was sort of trying to, because I didn't know much about his story. Again, this is Robbie saying, "Hey, do you want to come?"
You just said, "Look, he's a good football player. I'd love to see what the story is."
Yeah, it was a Saturday. I love college football. I knew that they were playing. I think they were playing UCLA that weekend, and it was just a fun thing. And I Robbie's my boy, literally my best friend. And so we drove out, and it's just funny how these things happen, how the world works.
Yeah.
And from there we watched the season, and he was obviously incredible at this is actually his second year at Washington State, but he was incredible, and he was putting up numbers, and I was watching him play, and I was just like enamored. They weren't winning games,
well, and it's that I know you're on the West Coast, so it doesn't you got that West Coast, the East Coast bias there. So us over here in Miami, especially, the people who ended up, Miami fans didn't know much about him when his name. So you can imagine a lot of fans down in the South, and the SEC fans, like, his name wasn't a household name by any stretch at that point.
Yeah, and so we went through the season, and and then got to meet him and start to talk about the documentary. And I can't tell you, I've met some really amazing sort of people that have been through so much to get to the top of, at least of the Hollywood industry, and actors and filmmakers and directors. I've never met anybody like him. He is, and I know we've heard it so much, but when we met him, and I connected to sort of the Canes faithful, and I remember this, like you said, Pete, people didn't really know about him. And I was just so excited to, whether it was on Twitter or wherever it was, to be like, get ready, because I just, and look, I didn't know if he was coming to Miami. We didn't know, we didn't know if he was going to the draft. We had no knowledge of anything, the same way that sort of the same thing with the school. But I knew that whether he was going to go to the draft then, or he was coming to Miami, he was going to be a dog. And he is just, and it's a mentality thing. But it's also, he respects you as well. It's not just sort of like, oh, I'm the best and forget everybody. It's really, he listens to you. He's very friendly. He's very sweet. And I just, I can't say enough about him, and the family, the family to me is really something that, I think when you meet Chantel and Calvin and Patrice, and they're just really remarkable people. So anyway, so that's sort of how it carried in. And then obviously Miami, and coming and having the year that he did was, it was like,
listen, it makes your job a little easier, I'd imagine.
Exactly.
Now I had a question. I'm sure Miami fans would be interested in this. Not to give away too much, how much of that decision-making process were you guys able to document when he was trying to figure out, do I head to the next level now, or do I come to Miami, which obviously the decision was a great one for him. So how much of that were you guys around for in terms of documenting it? And then obviously the season at Miami, as you mentioned, like there has to be some pretty great stuff from that run that you guys were able to capture.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give away too much.
Yeah, of course.
We were definitely a part. We were there. We were right at the precipice of that decision. The one thing I'll say about Cam is he cares about football. Doesn't, that's what it is, and we wanted to leave him, really focused on football, and the year that he was having, getting, certain, but again, you have to remember, we have such a great relationship with the family, and to be able to work with them and to be able to see what they're going through. And then, you know, running up to, and we've been able to work with the University of Miami and, you know, and a lot of the people there, you know, the social teams and all the great people there. And they've been amazing to get the type of footage that we want, to get the sort of storyline and narrative through, you know, that we want to get. And the people we've been talking to in terms of getting interviews and stuff like that has been really incredible. But and then we really, you know, the one place that I think is really special is the Heisman, you know.
Yeah.
Really some great material and but I'll let you guys watch that because it's, and I think just real quick, Pete, I think one of the things that's really special is the stories in their interviews, right? And I, you know, Miami 100%, but hearing how they got to where they got to from high school, and he was, you know, and I'm not spoiling anything really, but he was going to be a basketball player. You know, this is a kid who loved basketball, and but there's little stories that I can't wait for you guys to hear because it's not even necessarily from Cam, it's from the family. That's really special.
Now I'm interested because you hear so much about Cam and he's a very aware individual. He knows his audience. You see him on the streams on Fortnite, and he's talking to the Titans fans, basically saying that they've got 2 of the top 5 running backs in the league. Like, he knows who's listening. How was he around the cameras? I mean, we know he's a very confident person, but does the personality change at all in front of the cameras? I mean, from what you guys have seen, I mean, just talk to me about that aspect of it.
Yeah, I think well, first of all, it doesn't, but I do think there was an element of, because we really wanted to focus on the family, that there was an element of you know, you saw it at the draft. There was an element of emotion that came out, and seeing, you know, how incredible of a human being this person is, not just a fierce competitor and the Mamba mentality and all that, but, you know, and I've said that to Calvin, I've said that to Chantel so many times, like, you guys raised such a good kid, forget the rest of it, you know? So I think a little bit of that came out while working with him, but you guys will see that. And it really is a testament to, you know, what being overlooked can do. You know, I think people forget that, you know, being humbled can, you know, and I have been humbled in my own ways. And I think it gives you a sense of authenticity in a way. And there's no one more authentic than Cam Ward. And he is truly one of a kind. And I'm so incredibly grateful and blessed that we are able to work with him and the family.
Now talk to us about because it's Zero Star documentary. It's you know, going to be somewhat of a series from what I understand. Cam is going to be the first installment. Listen, man, we haven't seen it yet. I'm just saying it might be pretty tough to top this story that you guys have. So you picked a good one to start with, but talk to me about kind of like the idea behind it and why Cam was the perfect person to start with.
Well, yeah, and by the way, it's sort of spurned from Cam, right? I mean, it wasn't as if we thought of this idea and then we found Cam and he was perfect to fit in. This was seeing his mentality, the way that he goes about his day to day, and the way that his work ethic, and, you know, for us, it was, you know, really, and I think it also played into what I think is really special and interesting, at least for a viewer, is this idea of the Zero Star system, right? How do we rank people? You know, and whatever industry that is, right? Like, what makes someone, you know, and obviously in sports, it's a little bit different because, you know, you can see talent on the field and there's statistics and all that.
Well, listen, a lot of people who watch this show are big fans of the recruiting side of it. And it's always like, well, how did this guy who was a 3-star ended up becoming better than this guy who was a 5-star? And then, you know, there's a lot of questions like that. It's not always the case, but that's an interesting, you know, aspect to look at.
And how many guys are getting overlooked? I mean, how many guys that then don't get the opportunity to then, you know, prove, you know, maybe they, you know, and it's, you know, and you would assume that, you know, and Cam's probably a good example of this, that if you have the talent and you have the work ethic and you have the ability,
someone will find you. Yeah.
But but I
It's
don't know.
limited opportunities, though. It's limited opportunities,
And by the way,
every case is different.
Yeah, and by the way, that's why we're not 100 with the zero star idea, and we want to make this Cam's world, and the family's world. So this is whoever we do a focus on, Cam it's his brand, and he has his own brand, which is Cam One, which is his world as well. But this is zero star is an idea that we all came up together, and
Nice.
and we believe that there's stories outside of sports. There's stories in all sorts of different businesses, in entertainment. Of course, there's people who came from nowhere to win Oscars and all sorts of politics, especially. So we really feel like
I guess you could this could be, I guess you could consider this. I mean, Cam's one of his first forays outside of the world of sports, in a sense.
Yeah, and
outside of football.
Yeah, and again, it's a natural one, and I think it's not, and then at the end of the day, and I'll say it again, his world is football. He's focused on every day getting there and trying to win, because he knows what it takes to overcome people not believing in you, and that's a tough thing, especially in our. I mean, Pete, in our world, and I'm terrible at it in terms of like getting distracted, with whatever, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is, and worrying about our Canes. But I think he showed that even today you can be overlooked, you can be passed on, and you still can have that focus and overcome that, which is incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
So look, I know that we don't have exact dates and it's still in production, but can you kind of give the people an idea of what to look out for in terms of the timing and where they can kind of be looking out for details of how to watch when it's ready?
Yeah, and we're gonna keep people updated. Firebrand Media Group, which is my production company, worked with Robbie, who I mentioned, Josh Clayton, who's
and I'll link that in the bio, Canes fans, or the description of this interview. So you can look
and like I said, we're in production on the project and getting great material, getting great people to come and interview, but we will make sure that we keep everybody updated, and we're in talks with some great platforms and abilities to go see it. So it's gonna be special. It's gonna be something that you've seen sort of the ESPN or the kind of one-off type of looks at him, but this is something that's much deeper. It's something that goes a lot more into the world of the family, into Cam, into all sorts of different things. Also, like we talked about, recruiting, NIL, some really, really fun stories and interesting stuff that went on with Cam, but also is going on on a broader scale as well.
Now, what's the I mean, are you guys going through the draft with him here, and that's the end of the documentation? Where is that? Not to give too much away here, but I'm trying to I want
to keep that one. I'll keep that one holstered, because I think this will be something that people will really enjoy in terms of where it ends and where it doesn't, because as you know, his story is somewhat just beginning, which is absolutely insane. For a kid who's been through so much, and a dude who it's like
you
part one is Lord of the Rings, right?
And look, you could say we did a clip on it. Most of our followers have seen it. You could say he was overlooked even on draft night, with the I would call it lack of coverage. I mean, didn't really give him the full coverage that they would a normal first round pick, I would even say.
Yeah, no, it was odd, and I don't know what it is about Miami, maybe, but there's some, and I even see it on game day, by the way. But I think I mean, and I know Cam, he's gonna show up for what he needs to show up for, in terms of his obligations and because he wants to respect everybody. So it wasn't like Cam was spurning interviews or anything like that, or I don't know. I don't know where that comes from. And obviously, I think the sort of narrative of Shador and everything that's going on there might play into it. But it's and by the way, I love the Titans organization. I think it's an organization that's been such a great one over many years, and so glad that Cam can go play there. And I think it's like the perfect place. It really is.
Man, I'm pumped for this project to come out. I know Canes fans, Cam Ward fans, Titan fans. I mean, and look, this is, like we said, this is for right now, but really excited to follow this project as it continues to grow, Alec. And again, going to have that information in the description of the interview for everyone interested to go, follow them, Firebrand Media, for updates on this project. So Alec Griffin Roth, man, excited for this stuff, and appreciate you joining us today, man.
Thank you. Go Canes. I gotta do this because
there you go. Go Canes.
All my love.